Welcome everyone to Agile Professionals. We are a meetup that meets once a month, usually on the third Tuesday of each month. And we like to talk and discuss and have workshops and have speakers come and discuss topics around agility, Agile in government, and all the related topics that could possibly come up in those areas. A little bit about REI Systems. REI Systems is primarily a federal government contractor doing high-end software development for government. We strive to make government awesome and agile in every way possible. And primarily the areas of focus are in grants management and in open government transparency solutions. Grants management definitely being our bread and butter, and we're hiring. There's a lot of open positions. If you are interested, definitely take a look at our careers page and see if there's something that you might be a fit for. That's all I have to say about REI Systems. Today we have two speakers here, or I don't really call them speakers. They're more coaches, facilitators, and trainers and instructors and guides. And I've known them for quite a while, and I really admire them. I consider them role models, and I'm really happy to have them here today. They're lending their time to run this little mini workshop here to give you a deeper insight into what is the nature of impediments and what do they really mean and how do you remove them. So hoping that you can take away a little bit of learning around that subject. And feel free, we're going to stop around 8, and then I'll leave you to do questions and answers with them, and we can just kind of free flow conversation. So without further ado, I present to you Carrie and William.
Thank you for coming. So, do we want to do introductions first, or just put the rules?
Well, I think at least a two sentence introduction. That's your limit, though.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's going to be difficult. You want me to go first?
Sure.
So my name is William Strydom. I am a coach who works in the Agile space. I've been doing it for the Agile space about 10 years, coaching about 5 years, professional coaching around there as well, about 5 years. I wake up with this funny accent every morning because I'm originally from South Africa, but I've been living over here for quite some time. And that's probably enough about me. Over to you, Kari.
And my name is Carrie Mcleod. I am a generalist. I do some coaching, I do some facilitating, I do some training. I alternate between a Scrum Master and a product owner of a self-organizing team of 5 to 7. They're aged 9 to 16. An 18-year-old au pair. My husband and I switch that role back and forth. I wake up with this funny accent every morning because I'm Canadian. I've lived in the States since about 1989, and I still say, "Boron, sorry." So thanks for coming.
Before we officially start, I want to ask your permission for something. May I record what we're going to do this evening on my phone? Everybody good with that? Okay, yes. Without further ado, let's see if I can get technology going.
Get a lot of Dave Vogel.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, go like this.
Should I wear the hat then?
Yeah. It's up to you.
Put it on video, let's put it on the mic one, let's put record.
This is for quality control.
Cool.
I'm training.
Yeah, and training, yeah. You never know where this is going to be handy, you know? Or when I go for that face gate review and somebody wants to see, how do you do that stuff? And you go, I don't know.
By the way, Joe, now I regret moving to this table.
It would look bad if we hadn't had to table on stuff.
Well, you guys had dinner, you just sat down. So at this point, I'm going to go stand up, find somebody you haven't spoken with and ask them the following question. What is your most important thing to learn at this meetup this evening? And ask that question to as many people as you can in the next 5 minutes. Go.
Interesting.
You know, nice to meet you.
Hey.
So early on.
You want questions?
I'm a what is it? See how they
I'm trying to learn my what are all impediments? They could be many different kinds. Each organization looks at it with which have been predefined. Trying to understand if there's that's cool. How about you?
I'm specifically looking to learn more about impediments. So I'm more curious about I should have done a few what if they
I'm Joe.
All right, have fun. For me,
I agree. So yeah, I want to see what their context is, what an impediment, how they define it. I want to look at. I recently encountered something significant, so I want to see. I want to get a feel for. Did I approach it right, and also what are other ways of going around it, and respond to them in general. Yeah, I mean, the big and small.
Do something in that. How do you decide what to resolve itself?
Very early and say, hey, like this, and after it, resolve it. Yeah, that's good.
hello. How are you?
Good, I'm Joe.
Justin, nice to meet you. So, I'm looking to learn more about impediments, all the different types of
Each team has its own Scrum.
and then a way to turn that into conversation.
They all have, are they all part of the same thing?
They might be stuck getting over it, or maybe they don't know.
So I was kind of going to I want to get what you're saying. Okay.
So do you find that you actually do testing, or you just help them test themselves?
Systemic impediments.
Yeah. What do you know? Yeah. How do you approach it?
You don't want to take time to
But then also companies are
what company?
If you look online about impediments,
so I'm joining here.
So if you have 2 weeks back, just start and every 2 weeks, do daily Thank you.
Whenever you got to this 5, grab your seat again.
Thank you.
mostly at your tables tonight.
We have one here and then.
Right, and so I'll leave you at choice whether you'd like to join the tables at 3. Okay. And we're going to start with having you design an alliance at your tables. And what that means is I'm going to encourage you to talk to one another about what you need from one another to make the rest of the evening productive, maybe a safe space, what it is you need from one another to move forward this evening. Okay. Go now.
Contributing to the discussion.
I think that's it.
That's what I'm looking
I
heard alliance and I thought it was a library.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we vote out?
$20.
I know.
I would say. Just kind of being able to share friendly attitude.
So, how do we get ourselves in each other's pockets so that we can? So, what is a primary thing we want in our alliance?
Travel recommendations.
Somebody spit us.
Stock tips.
Information, open sharing.
Yes.
Ooh, I like that. That's a great way of presenting. Story.
I concur with some of the stuff, and I think also
Oh, really?
maybe,
Joe, you got one?
maybe something that stood out.
And we will wait until it if it's not good. So just throw it out there.
As regards to maybe policy debate, something that
What I do is when
early enough and planned it, and also basically I saw it and then it may have come onto it.
Here's an impediment.
So how about to translate what you're saying? I hear you want to
I
brainstorm.
go by AR as an acronym.
Okay.
Your choice.
What's it about?
But generally people
come up with
conquered me for a while.
solutions for current problems and future
Eventually,
Okay, okay. I wrote down brainstorm by the way.
Yeah, it's kind of good
veto or whatever. I
What
think
is
it's
the
a-
reason
Just
for
for-
asking
But,
that?
yeah, it's actually
And I'm sorry, oh, it's a problem
conjugation of two separate words of good Rahman.
Enthusiastic,
I
collaborative.
think I'm also, I am basically looking for
And I think the middle consonant is going to be.
someone like an alliance. I'm looking at impediments, these could be impediments, but how do other organizations, how are they looking at impediments? How are they dealing with it? Is it similar or how different I am? I'm trying to understand what is matching areas and where I
You said
can.
no experience.
Can I condense what you just said into celebrating points of view?
Yeah, because it's easy for
You mentioned testing earlier before, I got really excited. It's something I have tested.
but the desired outcome for you is the
Consulting organizations, and they kind of
I
diverge.
think that's a great alliance right there. Tell stories, which is really about being transparent and open. Brainstorming, which is it's okay to throw out an idea, knowing that it may not stick.
It wasn't
Right, so it helps me with transparency, knowing that you will reject something
There was a bit of
if I say a silly thing.
I'm just throwing out the names.
Yeah, I guess in this area also they stands out.
Figure out things are good. Let me get to the last
And I
one.
guess with those commercial consulting, they venture involved in
All these
very basic
It could be
thoughts of
right.
what they want to do.
And then celebrating points of view, I
Kind of
think,
paper now.
feeds back to the previous three, which is we're trying to problem solve, going to brainstorm in different
Then
ways.
And one of them, he actually goes out and gets problems.
That's good.
This up here, which is, you can see it very defined.
Consensus? This one means silence, and if it doesn't work, the next step, of course, is putting your hand over your mouth.
Sometimes you can even like, as you're raising your hand. Sometimes I have to do that.
And the last part of the Design Alliance is, what do you guys need from us for this evening?
Insight.
Insight, okay?
That's good.
Anything?
We came up with humor as inter-team alliance, and I felt like I might not be able to deliver, so if you guys can, you're already delivering, so I figured.
You know, it's funny that you should
Keep it
mention that.
coming.
You see what I did there? Funny you should mention that.
Okay.
Humor.
David.
Anything else?
I think what I'm looking from you is you're probably meeting several people in different organizations and getting more inputs from different people. You probably have a different perspective of what impediments are or what generally are. So that's what I'm looking for from you, to see if there's anything which is something new which I haven't learned already.
Okay.
That's it.
And if
Thank you.
Sure.
Since you are also training people overseas across different time zones, I'd like to know about some facilitation tricks for virtual teams. Because I am actually going to be facilitating a meeting tomorrow on AHR for a team which is in our Plano office. So there's a time difference, but I'm the only one here. Everybody else is co-located, and I'm their facilitator. I took it up as a challenge, so.
Good. Cool. I think we can do that.
We can do that.
Not in depth, but we can do that. Okay.
So one of the things that, particularly Scrum Masters are asked to do is to solve impediments, right? And it's like a burden in some ways. You, the Scrum Master, are going to solve all of our problems. And what we're going to encourage you to do is think more collaboratively about what impediments are and whether they should be solved and how to solve them. And so if you're using Scrum, you're used to the 3 questions at the daily stand-up, right? The third of which is, what? What are your impediments? What's standing in your way, right? And then you stand there, and what happens?
Most people don't talk.
Most people don't talk.
Because they don't want another lecture or something from anybody.
Okay.
Or they don't want to talk about it because it becomes an issue.
Okay, Dave?
So when we were using those 3 questions, I noticed my teams, the next person would immediately begin talking because the phrase, "and I have no impediments," is meant, "and I am done talking." So the next person immediately began talking.
Okay. What else?
It's hard to articulate what impediments people have. It's hard for them to articulate or even know what's impeding them.
Anything else?
A lot of times we'll table a conversation about the
Can you say more?
Oh, we'll table a conversation, for instance. So it doesn't interrupt the stand-up, we'll table it. And then get more information.
Oh, and is that, can I ask you, is that concern for time, concern for keeping flow?
It's for kind of maintaining the succinctness of the stand-up and addressing the longer conversations outside the scope. of the
Okay, and what I'm hearing is sometimes impediment discussions go on and on and
No,
on.
not necessarily, but it's just to keep the stand-up clean.
Okay.
In terms of this purpose of covering those 3 things, but not getting into a discussion about them.
Okay. So what if you were to ask a question like, how confident are you that we will meet our sprint goal? What do you think might come up if you asked that question?
Actually, we had a nice, we get fingers, 1 through 5. They go, what is your confidence in meeting the goals? Never made it past 3. 5 is the highest. Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's a very
Always risk was
empirical.
involved in the sprint, and I don't think they really addressed it well. So, but they never got past 3.
Okay. Yeah.
That's not very high.
Did you,
Yeah, okay, let's a Roman vote. What do you guys think we're gonna do?
right, how confident are you, so, yeah. And what kind of conversations do you think could come out of the question and, for example, this empirical way of answering?
Ask, well, what would be necessary for you to be one step more confident?
What would it take to get you to 4? Or what would it take you to go from this to this? Yeah. What
Wouldn't
else?
you have to have a much deeper conversation than just that one statement? And the reason I'm saying is that, like, if there are real embedded challenges, then you need to extrapolate that and discuss it before you can offer advice. So, that's why I was thinking like that short period of time does not necessarily always give you the opportunity.
Right. And if we're going to have a much deeper conversation, we want this stand up for the daily scrum to last 15 minutes, right? So there is that back and forth. Yeah. And so what else might come out of that question of confidence in meeting the sprint goal?
Why so low?
Yeah. What's
Voting the 2.
right? What's in the 2? Right. And by asking that, what do you think is going to come out? Impediments. Possibly, hopefully, right? What about a question, how can we go faster? What could that question reveal?
Somebody outside the team.
Somebody outside the team.
Almost always. What's getting in the way of us going faster? Something outside the team.
Something outside the team.
How would you know it's somebody outside the team? What are you listening for?
The team whines about that? I didn't say the word whine in jest, but the point is that the team expresses that there's a thing that's outside their control, and that's what makes them slower. Or not slow, not as fast.
Not as fast.
Which is a different thing than slower.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm specifically minded for words here. Like when you ask these questions and you listen to them talking, what words are you going to pick up on that will tell you that's an impediment that's slowing down my team? What will they say about this other entity or person or
They'll say they're
whatever?
waiting for something.
Waiting, that's a great word. Yep. What other words are you going to be listening for that's slowing down your team or stopping them from delivering that value?
Depending.
Dependent. Okay. What other words are you going to, there's a lot of these. These are subtleties because that's kind of what sometimes happens, especially like David was pointing out during the daily stand-up. They will sometimes do their update. I'm busy working on this and I'm waiting for a sign-off or I'm waiting for that. So that's one of the words then, and they go, no impediments. But they really said it.
Change your priorities.
Change of priorities. So change. Okay. Matthias, you had one as well?
We're looking into ...
Looking into knives.
That's my favorite.
Okay.
Not sure.
Not sure.
Not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. The other one I sometimes, if I can throw in some stuff here for you guys as well, if I may brainstorm with you, is I wish I could do that. Or I wish that was already done.
Not sure kind of answers incomplete requirements or unclear requirements too.
Okay.
That tends to be the most. People do some work already, and because they assume that's how it's supposed to be.
What else?
Need. Somebody will say, well, I'm doing this, but next I'll need that.
dependency, yeah. Okay. So you get the drift of what we're after here. Okay, so it's not going to be a specific thing that we're giving you what are the tools, what are the listening things that needs to fall on your ear so you can note that that's an impediment, because people won't always explicitly say it. Okay.
Another one that you probably hear a lot, I'm trying. And we know from Yoda there is no try.
Trying to.
I'm trying to ... Or we're trying to.
I'm stuck. That's
Stuck.
that's the gold star one.
Right, right.
I'm stuck.
Right, because that is the one where you get a sense it's explicitly an ask for help. There's a request there.
I need help.
So we move on to our next
But
step.
if somebody says, I need help, it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right.
It's a good thing because they're reaching out to their team members, which means there is a trust that somebody will step up to the plate and help them. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah. Not all impediments are bad, by the way, but that's for a little later. So now, in your groups, raise as many impediments as you currently have. There's a couple of cards already on the table that might be helpful. Write one per sticky down for you. Just brainstorm for 3 minutes. All the impediments you currently have, your teams, department, organization.
I noticed you put one in there for the product, don't you?
Yeah. Come on, join us. Yes, that's
I like to say Jira is a four-letter word.
I was mentioning earlier, in order for something to get deployed, it has to get scanned by other teams outside of the group. That team is unreliable. They're scanning.
It's not for me to
An impediment where we need to scan is not happening.
We're lucky we have a
A vulnerability scanner.
Well, I mean,
We don't know why. We just know it's not happening. So it's an impediment to our progress because we cannot proceed without
I wrote that down.
that. So that's just an example on our team. It's usually, when I've encountered them, it's been red tape related, like process related, but process of the organization's like, the ways that we have to request this other team to get access to this thing. It's like that type of red tape kind of stuff, in my experience.
Or one per card or?
What about you guys?
One sticky per impediment, right?
Yes, of course. Thou shalt not write more than one thing
per
on a
sticky.
sticky.
Right.
That's the 11th commandment.
What, you need training? Get out of here, you're
Yeah, this is supposed to know how the application, but it's the other thing is
Waiting for Jack to refresh the database.
installed, it's new release which it's third party. Tool as well, design. Well, back. They're going to test it. Install it.
So it's like a, right.
Which is not allowed. That's good.
Right, right,
So we had
right, right, so it's like yeah, right.
Especially tomorrow. I'm gonna have an issue. My team and I were discussing, so we're all teleworking tomorrow, right? We're just like, decisions knowing that we're
One impediment that comes to mind with this project is that we relied on our visual team to come up with some require training.
We came up with an idea of personal development.
Common.
Oh, yeah, so we currently have a hero.
On January 16th, 20.
So we have a team member, oh, sorry. We have a team member who is about to go on vacation, and the team told me that they were going to have difficulty getting some certain things done.
There's a matrix.
And,
It's much more projects.
There's
Why does that matter? We're a cross-functional team.
Matrix resources. Right.
And resources.
All right, so
Something
hopefully
different,
you've
something
generated many sticky notes, or maybe your teams are so awesome they don't have impediments, but I'm gonna go with lots of impediments. I'm gonna ask you to work again in your groups and identify your top 2 impediments you'd like to work with at your table. You have about 5 minutes to do that.
The things that you come up with.
I'd like to go with
Also, the resources.
our first alliance thing, which is about telling stories. And I'd like to just go rapid fire, maybe start with Joe and then talk, just like listing ours, and then we'll see how we each react. So Joe,
But it happens all the time. And then,
It's a lot around requirements and stuff like that.
I mean, I
But say
have
we
requirements
go
not
yours.
clear, it's more like a.
right.
How to lack of
And then,
if the senior guys
Oh,
are
yeah, so
Spanish.
recognition, because, okay, what do we do?
so
Like, we have a lot of
like
associates.
the technical availability of resources.
And if the developers say, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Right.
Environmental issues, we're working with a
I think the other one, like the technology
The lower
dependencies,
requirements
are
Requirements are
perfectly
not.
interesting because
And shell-driven is because all the developers, they just.
this one
care
resonates with me, so I'd like to make it a candidate for finance.
right, so
Okay.
And then
I can think it's important.
So there is no
About stuff. I think the resources, like what are the things that you guys would think, the things that we would want to talk about at the table?
So if a story goes
So
on
exactly.
technology, the
So
acceptance
okay, we
criteria, and I
agree
know
with
that
one of our top
we get it done
impediments
as
because
developers,
only
which
one
person.
requirements are not clear. I don't.
Works on team leadership.
So, I'm glad Joe gave us lots of context, but I'm going to go with our second alliance thing, which is about brainstorming. So Dave, if you could go through yours a little bit.
Like, let's say if I have a session.
Other teams are going during their systems.
What I've encountered
Oh,
is
that's a
this
candidate.
Agile
I
team
want to make that a
was
candidate.
in a like world of
Why
non-structure.
should we need to tell
And so
them
that's
their
where for us,
systems now?
process is
They
just
already built their systems
a really big impediment because it's kind of like, okay, we're
After
trying to
I
make
this
this
to
be
me, this friend
everyone else
different
is
teams,
doing that.
I'm
We
going
can't
We need to
change
find out this
stuff.
information. It'd be
So,
really easy if
so,
we
I mean,
just talk to the
we're-
process people.
Yeah, well,
But,
there's,
Yeah.
you're probably,
And I don't know if resource,
Successfully.
what behavior.
resources kind of fall in that because if you have people who are basically resources that are not in Agile, so for me with the process impediments is
Classic.
resources that aren't in Agile, so they're not
It's
possible to use.
out there.
That's really the meaning of this
Access to
kind
the
of
system.
fears, right? Because- So maybe we'd love those to kind of.
Yeah, that's, I guess any impediment that.
Parna.
Parna.
So when you say waiting on teammates, that would be.
We get it left by the
Right?
Yeah, okay, so the
There
next
we
down.
go. One of the team member called in sick.
So,
You know,
like, would that be like, okay, you have a BPA and a coder, and the coder needs to
Yes, he's one of the heroes, yes. There are two actually on the team.
In your case, because the other person does not
In
necessarily
Incomplete Story.
feel that.
Okay, that resonates
Dependencies.
Yeah, well,
Basic acceptance criteria.
Can't move forward.
The bane of my existence.
It's a sequence.
That's something I've been trying to talk to people about for many months now. Team members are not working at the same time, so there's some developers who will.
Yeah, because we encountered that because we had different specialties on our team, and you're right, like, for a particular feature, it might be database or it might be front end.
They are.
It's just, that's just what it is, but in order for the thing to work, you need both pieces there.
They don't talk to each other very often.
Like, why is it happening?
We end up,
Right.
All the cases.
that team ends up
So then you
meeting
just
more
offer
often than the
them
others.
The people who are
So
waiting,
that-
are they
that
just
does
idling, or
cause-
are they, are there kind of other things that
So
they're?
your sick one resonates with me,
Yeah.
but just because my hero one is a little bit more generic, So is that okay? So the hero is on vacation, sick leave, whatever. The other one is that unclear or undesignated product owners.
That was close to the finishing task, I didn't have as much.
Oh, you mean you don't have a task?
But I still
Right.
feel that the two issues
So
get
unclear is we have multiple people who have to be the product owner, we're not sure.
But they see you
And then undesignated is we have no product.
You don't have that.
So that happens on some teams. So we've narrowed it
Yeah, I
down
was
to
just asking,
four.
because like, I think
Does
there's a
anybody
number
want
of
to
different
speak out in favor of one of
But
the?
so I was just wondering, were they just letting the person idle, or were they trying to find a work? Because even when you bring in a resource, that person's still waiting, it's just like, you have a bottleneck in there.
So I guess they did let that person.
The organization that I'm a part of says
We already have CPU sites.
It's not blocking us now to other teams.
So, and actually what's interesting, because the thing is, what happens with our team is, even as a business, I was.
I have a long-term impediment.
So, we just, at that point,
Ownership, there's no ownership.
so like, when the coder was hitting a bottleneck, I went into coding, but he was working.
We're working on
I could do it fast.
Yeah, so it's cut them down to 2, you've got 30 seconds.
Okay, let's do dot voting. Everybody knows how to do it? Okay, everybody gets 3 dots.
How many do you have?
Trying to boil the ocean.
But actually, you can have.
Prioritization, I know you can, you've got 30 seconds. Now 28, 26. Top 2.
We had.
So this has 4.
Resource.
Right, everybody put on their dot. One more dot.
That's exactly your top 2. Good.
All right, there we go. We've got our 2.
You picked 2 from 6.
Hey,
Hard to do.
you've worked with teams, you know that
All right, there are environmental issues and incomplete stories.
Okay, you guys got your top 2?
We do.
Is mine process impediments and technical resource
That's
impediments?
got the top 2. You guys got your top 2? Okay, cool.
So we're kind of, they're kind of broad in scope.
All right. Now, the even more fun part. We are going to give you a chance to work together and for each impediment, come up with 3 solutions. Solutions, okay? So you'll have a total of 6 solutions. And you have about 10 minutes to do that.
20.
Oh, and I take that.
20 minutes,
Solutioning?
3 solutions for 2.
I wish we had 20 minutes.
So that's why I wasn't going to get into the solution. I figured it was
All
unexpected.
right, so I guess we'll start with environmental issues. Is that okay?
Right, right.
everyone?
Yes.
So we had the
So,
resources.
This was Joe's, right?
Yeah.
So let's start with not
And
Joe.
then, right,
Somebody want to provide
resources. All right,
an
so
experience that they've had where they were able to
we had talked
overcome
about with
environmental
yours,
issues.
I think
their
once we
one solution would be to
connection
bring
should
in
come up.
another resource
with
on the
Not
task.
after
So add a resource.
We were able to kind of
Maybe
keep track of
in
our
this
environments, make sure that they're all
once they start
using.
working on it.
Okay.
It's been,
Now, my addition to that was have people who can run multiple sides.
yeah. Difference between,
So they
yes.
can basically
Okay.
switch
So
roles.
Yeah.
Clear
That's
the
kind of how.
As it works.
Number 1.
Changes.
Yes.
Okay, so
DevOps.
just DevOps, just in general.
Yeah.
And then
That's the immediate reaction.
Aparna mentioned, and so there's nothing written here, but looking down reminded me of what I wrote.
So this is for resources. Now,
Mentioned
Yeah.
user tools, is that's different from the DevOps?
basically a matrix organization.
DevOps is simple, it's the same thing.
One
as-
solution.
That's just the term used for the.
Yeah, the developer
Okay.
tester.
And I'm going to throw out a thing that we've done recently. We swapped employees. So we have our engineering folks and 2 of our folks who are from the software development group went to work for them. And we've gained 2 of theirs. And
Yeah, present.
I don't know how that's going to work. So actually, it's not necessarily a solution, but we're trying.
Yeah, because I think we're talking about like, so if there's a
I
task,
don't know how
sometimes you just have
But I know that they hired 2 of
a
ours.
something.
Yes, I will do
And
that,
I realized that the 2
yes.
people who were
One is just bigger than the other.
Came from them.
And then
Thinking somebody else.
you would have somebody just idling waiting for
Or
the
just
other.
thinking public.
Classic is
So I'm going to say,
Never heard that.
So database,
so
we have 3 tables, sources, all that stuff, all the front end, which is waiting to.
back.
Now, sometimes you can work around it, like for instance, what we would do is we would
Rotation
say,
of duties.
okay, well, in the front end, just snub it out, right?
Need
Just
all of
remove the
this.
dependencies.
Yes.
So you can
Take the time
remove,
to
All right,
understand
so
the
artificial
what
we can
the
circle back to this. I'm going to move us along if that's
end
okay.
result of the story is.
If anybody thinks of any more
Yeah.
environmental solutions,
Like,
I invite you to use our brainstorming alliance. Just a moment, just a moment. Let me finish. I was in the middle of a sentence and you interrupted me. Excuse me.
In your mind,
I was in the middle of a sentence and you interrupted me.
you're on it.
yeah. So that's like a technical.
Try this out.
Because you know, it's also if you're designing
How
things that are
about you present to
modular.
the first, then we
A
present
lot of times you can get away with
to
separating and saying, okay, well, this is the front page.
Absolutely. I'd like to ask that going forward, that we have a
I
baton or
think, so
something
the
like
next
so
thing
the
is
person who is
stuff. And I
holding
think
the
that's
baton
actually,
gets to speak. And if
sometimes
I
the
did that.
dependency just is what it is, right? So if this depends on this, this depends on this, you actually have this circular dependency.
Come on, dude.
I'd like for somebody else on the team to weigh in on this issue.
It was
Because I
like,
think
this
it's important for
depends
one person to speak at
this
a
is
time.
blocked,
And
that's a
obviously,
violation.
there's a difference of opinion.
And then this
So-
would solve that problem, it's not available.
I think
You end up with this
just trying to do
We talk about the story of the PO and the developer testers,
Right.
when we talk about the
And
story. But something magically happens right after the sprint.
Okay. Moving along, the next one is incomplete stories. Would you like to offer a
Maybe
solution?
sometimes they don't have enough.
They have
Stories
enough
you had to
time.
go-
There's 2 weeks.
Okay.
Two groups.
As you're going through the
to
sprint,
find
Right,
it.
right.
you're gonna find out.
To refine
Right, right.
solutions. And a 2-hour sprint plan. So
Okay.
they have 4 hours to get, yeah, they have 4
You have
hours to
short
look
sprints
at
too.
the stories.
Right.
No, but this is one thing, which is this one thing.
Oh, what's that?
Recently, one of the testers on the team.
No, but it's a team ownership, right? If one person
A large
takes it,
t-shirt
but somebody else should be able to pick it up.
And the stories what were built
Exactly.
were just empty.
No, but this one.
And they said,
Right, right.
figure it out.
So,
And they just had a
right,
title.
right. No, this is a situation where,
Nothing in,
um,
nothing in the story, just a title.
I know it's in the roadmap.
For the story and nothing in the
Right,
description.
so, you know how like eventually you
Nothing
might
in the
say,
acceptance
oh,
criteria.
it's in the roadmap.
And the
So
tester
one
was
solution to be to
expected to
use
write
the
test
word
cases to
Agile.
figure it out.
Everybody works
So
on
they
it.
use
Everybody
their
works on it.
intuition.
Even if it's a non-book cover, this developer picks it up.
But I think that
I
kind
just
of,
never thought of think about, okay, today
we ended up
find the
having
the present
not
the story to you, and
notified
tomorrow you will have to
for that particular
regurgitate it.
initiative.
If you did not understand.
We had
Because
about,
because this is a cost.
I'm not kidding, 350
So then you didn't correct
of
it.
which 70% were high priority defects. This is a classic case which happens when a big t-shirt item is given with not enough.
So I'm going to throw out a solution, if I may. And I suggest to my teams that they do.
So it's like you have to ask all the questions.
Oh, okay.
It's like, you know,
Grooming 125% of the stories. 125 meaning 100% is this sprint, and then a little bit of the sprint after. So,
You can't take it to production without this.
I think we came up with this, the other one. Lack of people, that was it, right? Lack of people.
Well, yeah, the
people
only thing you could have done with, because the thing is, you would have just said, okay, we know this issue is, so we're gonna pad our estimate with X number of weeks from this time.
right.
Yes,
That was our indicator. You just budget.
That's a great one, splitting stories.
Every time it's a blame game from them, back in
This would be the abstract.
Grooming is.
So we stories are supposed
So I think this is the hardest part. The hardest because unless you change this constraint, allow you to do something else, and then you're just open to it.
But you can't, for each story, we have this new story, this is what it says. Do you understand this story? And
Some people are good, you can
actually say yes.
go apply special things,
So my
specialized
check
learning, but no, like,
So people do this,
we're saying,
or do other
like,
things.
I cannot do it, this is not my area, it's like,
Also, you know, use it.
It surprises me
Right.
that you see
Like,
people
it's
that
also-
go to the story and say, what was involved in the
Yeah, so
So what's the immediate way of doing the impediment?
It was the product owner who
So the commission
So I'm just gonna put team
we just
commitment.
committed the whole team on behalf of the team.
Additional resource or it's not
And I don't know if this is
the goal is
So it'd be
based on whatever the
prioritized
client is.
What's the,
So training,
so ready to commit,
they want some
ready,
changes in the database.
so definition of ready.
It's
Not additional, yeah.
Do you have that criteria? Do you have
I
that?
want to just start doing some Bitcoin mining on your hardware.
Sure.
Additional resource with right skill set.
Yeah, that's a question I think
Your hardware is idling.
happens pretty much at every Scrum meeting they have, this particular team has. Because they're
Don't look at my
constantly
statement,
busy
please, my
and it's
handwriting is
their
very
the
bad.
product they're working on.
Right.
I see this more often in that team because they're not unsure of what should they be expecting or doing.
Because they are
They just jump on this thing called story which has no meaning, try to figure it out and then come up with their own
They just have to wait.
explanation of those things. That's been pretty
That
common
is, I think,
Okay.
the tougher
team,
of
but I see that in other teams
because I
also.
don't think as when you have that deadlock of
People do not understand what the actual deadlocks
like Microsoft isn't gonna,
criteria.
like whoever's vendor is, they're not gonna accelerate their.
They have multiple BAs giving them requirements, and they have this product owner who's looking at it and thinking, probably we'll do this brand, probably not, but then we don't make good
So when
decisions.
you were,
What is important?
so you write scope and we're expecting to
Yeah, you know, required.
And there are
Even
no
when
issues.
then,
They're not
all of
thinking.
them are.
So that's one I would be interested in kind of getting, because that's one, that's a tough, I think that's really.
Leads to that. Especially when,
Because all you can do is prioritize your backlog, but.
we have multiple clients, and each of these teams is dedicated to a different client. And each one is different.
From today.
That's an
Each,
Good.
yes.
Yeah, we have about 5 more minutes.
5-minute warning.
Demonstrate what you
Team
learned.
value.
That's the transfer of learning, transfer of hearing here, transfer of listening. If you didn't have listening, you cannot regurgitate.
Your velocity goes to zero.
Sounds like.
And then the other one is,
Yes.
What is actually. So.
Yeah, because I mean, you got resources sitting there, it's not like.
you know, when you
Where they are over time.
the kids start listening to you. It's a different kind of monitoring certification.
Programs where what we found
And the other one, what's the level of?
Oh, yeah, because he's just not gonna sit there. He's daylighting. They call it daylighting. It's not even at night. He's up moonlighting.
30 days of time.
You just insulted me. No, just kidding. I'm a Scrum
There's no technical debt or anything that you can clear out.
Like we are acceptance criteria.
Like refactoring stuff, like
So
emails.
automated and best practices are
With them.
Right.
So before, during, and after.
So-
Before, hey, we just
You
pulled
write
this,
it
then we work.
I see.
Let's quickly cover
Yeah,
up.
and Brandon Gurton, like, you know, so for example, like acceptance criteria, like,
Hey,
Give
has
us
to,
the-
has to
Flight
be
preview.
12 very much meeting, so.
So
given my story,
Right.
has
We're not gonna get it all back.
put in,
Once
the length has to be greater than
over something, it's
So
not.
you automate that to verify that it's always more than 12 characters. So that's
Yeah, because I think one solution though is to be better on your plan to see that a
the
lot
language
sooner.
that
Because I
generates
think
the automation
if
is
it's
the
possible to see that
acceptance.
far enough away in advance, then you can put enough other stuff in the
We
back.
tried, we did that. If they had one consistent problem, kind of fell down.
Right,
More
well,
consistent, it just, you know, did you show the product owner, what do you think, you know, let's get this before, it's not just surprise, let's get them engaged.
Because right now, like even if this is delayed, right, and that, then you're totally.
Just to show you how seriously broken software can
We're doing all this stuff for. Say again.
All right, so
Inconsistent. I kept going myself.
yeah, we had talked to
simple process.
different resources with right skill sets here, code review, show and tell or demo.
Just taking
How to kick that thing down the road.
We're done.
You guys done?
Like, so I'm a Scrum Master, but I'm also a member of the team, like I'm the analyst, I've been doing coding, DBA stuff, right? So, do you guys have similar situations where your Scrum Masters actually doing like work?
It's so happy because
Right,
end of the year,
More of these
insurance change.
Okay, so
That's
I'll
our
do
being in healthcare industry, that's the time when we have this big rush in things. And then this team was given 2 months to come up with a totally new solution.
But then there's just,
So they could hire
there's just
50
like,
call
there's
center
obviously.
actually have.
And the goal was to, yeah, the goal was to have, let them,
That's what this situation I'm in, because
let
we have,
them enroll.
it's a small team, 3 people, and we have
Very
overlapping
less
skill sets.
process
So one
overhead.
person can step in.
That was a huge ask.
Well, actually, it's kind of,
have us? Nobody
I'm
talked
really
about
a
it.
business analyst.
Like,
I guess that's
where they
what
went
I'm
and,
doing, did DB
dived
stuff,
into
but
it.
They weren't stepping into
It
that.
was,
Yeah.
that's something which happened recently. So
I used to be.
Carries the legend Scrum
that
Master.
has been an issue, especially
By
for
hundred
us.
chats.
And after all this, it goes into production, it came back with one high issue.
Yeah, last night actually has.
All hell broke loose. Everybody was on top of that. Then I told people, you know, testing, right, find 50 other defects. That one high defect was gonna happen.
Right.
It's going to happen. So just be ready for that.
You still have a chance to.
But I love all that. It would be good to have a product owner to deal with. That's the most important.
And then I Googled it thinking,
Yeah.
oh, what's it? And then somebody actually wrote a book, and I'm like, no, this idea is my own original idea, and then I Googled it, and then somebody already found it.
I'm thinking,
Yeah, but these are my
a little bit more training would be a good
Knows
one.
how to
Step
use
forward.
He knows how to use Jira.
Okay. Are we all done?
But you have to go back and fix it.
Did everybody get to 3 solutions for each of the impediments you were working on?
Yes.
Okay, so let's hear from each of the tables. You don't have to tell us all the solutions. If you just want to pick one and give us the solutions you came up with for it. Who wants to go first?
We'll go.
Okay.
So one class of impediment that has different flavors is resource impediment. So it could be a task that has multiple parts, like a database and a front end, and one is bigger than the other. So you end up with one person waiting as the other person's doing the task. So there are different ways that we came up with addressing that. So you could rearrange if you have a team with people with multiple skill sets, you can apply another person to the task. That's the bottleneck. There was another example where there was a dependency on an external team that wasn't dedicated. One solution to that is just have a dedicated team, even though it's a bigger. It might not be as easy as it sounds, but that's one way of solving it. Another thing you can do is if you have a dependency between tasks within a team, you can remove the technical dependencies by doing something like mocking out code and stuff like that to remove the actual dependencies so that those pieces can work independently. So that was one example. Our second dependent was actually more challenging, so we want to get your input. Sometimes you end up with technical dependencies between pieces where you're just stuck. So I think one of the solutions we came up with was do better forecasting, planning to see it further down the line, so then you can reprioritize your backlog and fill it, so you're not just waiting. But we'd love to hear some examples of how you might solve an intractable dependency between technical pieces.
Cool.
That's what we have.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, we'll definitely talk more as a group around some of the things we've still got questions about. Who wants to go next?
We can go next. Our top two impediments, I'll speak on the first one and Kirti will speak on the next one. One of the impediment is requirements are not clear, and the immediate action is clarify the requirements. But then as a long-term plan, since this team is having 2 refinement sessions even before sprint planning, so they have 2 opportunities to look at a user story and fully understand it before they even commit to working on it in a sprint. Ensure that one of the ground rules is no laptops when the refinement session is happening and the PO is explaining the user story. And also set expectations with the team that you'll have the refinement session today where the PO will present the user story, and then as a follow-up, the resources who are going to be working on that story have to demo that story with their implementation strategy and test strategy, so that you can ensure transfer of listening is what I'm calling it, instead of transfer of learning, transfer of listening, which means when they listen to the PO speak and explain the user story and had a chance to ask questions, now they take it back, come up with the strategy and explain it to the team so that everybody has complete clarity on what is expected. And the third one is, I'm using the word stricter, although it's not Agile-like, but a more disciplined adherence to definition of ready of the user story. And Kirti.
Oh, I was zoned out. So basically, I believe most of the teams have like 2 or 3 star players who know how the product works in and out. And when that player is about to leave the company or is for some reason not available, then there's a lot of panic within the team. So that happens because there is no resource allocation skill set wise. Like some people say, oh, I'm really good at just Angular, and I'm not good at the database or something like that. So we should have a lot of KDs, trainings, peer review, code review together, so we understand even if some person is missing on some skill set, someone else can pitch it and help them or help them.
Great.
Me?
Yeah, we can't read your writing.
Oh, okay.
Just saying.
We had, one of our impediments was incomplete stories, and one of our solutions was grooming 125% of the stories. It doesn't have to be 125%, but the point is to groom more than 1 sprint of stuff in each grooming session, which is separate from planning. And then during sprint planning, to make sure that the whole team commits, not just the product owner. I know it's shocking. You need more than just the product owner to commit to a user story. And then the last one was sometimes you have to split stories because sometimes they're incomplete because they're so huge, or the boundaries were not clearly understood. Our other impediment, you want me to speak on this one too? All right. Was when you have different types of environments, you sometimes have an upper environment, a lower environment, something closer to the customer, something that's development only. And so having a cross-functional team is important. Using general DevOps things. Having tools that automate certain things helps with the DevOps stuff. And rotation of duties, so having people from one part of the environment start to work on another team.
So lots of ideas generated on how to solve these impediments. How did you come up?
Experience.
Experience?
Who's experience?
Watching others and learning.
Say that again.
Confessions of the Scrum Master.
Confessions of a Scrum Master. Watching
Watching others?
watching others. How did you at your tables come up with these solutions?
Just talk them out.
Talk them out, right? I heard about conversations, right? And that's what you were doing, was having conversations. So what are you learning about solving impediments?
Have more open conversations.
What else?
Also have more open conversations with the team and get the team's buy-in, because once you bring in the team to solve the impediments, there's all, and then the actions that you want to take, there's more subscription for it from within the team. Because if I were to request the team members saying, hey, today you're sitting through refinement and tomorrow you're presenting, it's not going to work. I have to package it in a way where I get their buy-in and they need to see value in it. Only then there'll be the desired action and then the desired outcome.
I would say one thing I've learned is through that experiment is not, the first answer isn't always the best. Even though you'd like to be like, okay, great, solved, let's go on with our day. If you just, without spending an hour to solve a problem, solution 4 of 7 might be the best, the most efficient way to solve a problem. So to create an environment with your team that not the first answer is always the right answer, but every answer is welcome.
Yeah.
One thing that'll be a kind of interesting layer on top of it is like, and this conversation is smooth because the stakes are real low. But when the stakes go up and people are emotionally invested in it, then it becomes a little like more challenging. So kind of tips to be able to deal with sensitive solutions where it may actually kind of put somebody in a bad light or other kind of things that can go wrong with it would be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, when things move to high stakes, you do have to have a container for your team. And that little thing we did at the beginning of the workshop, Design Alliance, that's how you start building containers. So those of you that are Scrum Masters that don't do that, start doing that. Get the team just to talk about the atmosphere, how they want to work together. And talk about how do they, because this will manifest in their behaviors, but it's kind of like, do they want to be collegial together, collaborative together, or do they always want to be in a panic? Some teams like that. It's weird, but who knows? You might have we're the Tiger team. We just want to stamp out fires. They operate like that, and that's fine. That's their choice. Other teams don't want any conflict. Different teams will behave in different ways.
And one thing you can do in designing an alliance with your team, which is something you do, and then you do again, and then you do again, is to talk about conflict, to have a conflict protocol. How do we want to be in conflict, right? Because there is the idea that without conflict, there's no commitment, right? People have to really want this to work, and when people really want things, conflict can come up. And it's okay, you need that in your team. So how do we want to be together when we are in high stakes? That's a conversation it's really great to have when you're in low stakes.
Yeah. Cool. Great point, by the way. To bring us back to impediments and solving them. Anybody came up with more than 3 solutions? Yeah? 4, yeah. So if you take a little, almost like a little meta view, stand a little further back about the actual impediments, the actual solutions, and think more about how did we go about solving these this evening? What did we do? Brainstorm, yeah.
We told stories. So I'm just going through our alliance actually. We problem solved and we celebrated points of view. That's our 4 alliance aspects, and I think they worked for us.
Maybe also we unconsciously work towards consensus. Like, is everybody okay with this? It may not be the most ideal. It may not be my most ideal solution, but I can live with it. That's something that I guess we unconsciously work towards it.
Yeah, and you guys hit it at the back of the table when you guys said it's not always the first one that's the best one. That is a great learning. And there's in different organizations and even with different teams in organizations, they will solve their problems differently. So part of what we want you to take away this evening about these things you've mentioned already at the beginning was identify impediments. So what are impediments if we have to give it a definition? What would you say? Things that impede progress.
What is the smooth flow of work?
Bumps, hurdles.
Things that threaten the completion of work.
Yeah, those things are. Sorry?
Obstruction.
Obstruction.
Distraction.
Distraction. Yeah. A lot of people do view impediments just as things that totally stop teams, and you guys already picked up on it might be as subtle as just things that slow down the team. So there's degrees in it. What other things do we want to make sure it's there?
Sphere of control, sphere of influence.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, so some of the things you brought up are things that you, the Scrum Master, well, things the team can solve, right? That are in control, the control of the team. So if it's in control of the team, who should be solving the impediment?
The team.
The team. Who should be solving it if it's out of the team's control?
The best person.
The best person. Ooh. Who's the best person?
Well, give the context. A manager, a personnel manager for something that might, I don't know. Perhaps the Scrum Master, because I happen to know that person who I can talk to and get something moving.
Right. Hopefully you have a well-connected Scrum Master.
Yeah.
Right, and that person knows who. But what about in the case of your technical?
There's a solution because we try to find out, we could rearrange the backlogs. That's what we could do because there was a dependency, technical dependency. One thing will not work because of another thing. Another thing is not ready for implementation or it's not available to do. So we had to rearrange our tasks. That's the only thing we could do.
But what's interesting in our conversation is still resulted in idle time. So they did the best they could, but you still have this idle time. So that's why we are curious, like, well, what would you do beyond that? Would you just have to accept that you're going to have idle team members? It doesn't seem like a good solution. So, but what beyond that can you do?
Yeah. That's an interesting question because sorry, go for it. You wanted to add something.
Oh yeah, I would say figure out who like in this case the idle time, whose biggest pain is that. If you get them to realize this is actually a problem for you, more than just a problem for my team, you might have find a workaround or,
Someone might make it a priority.
Yeah, it's like, I had no idea this was affecting my budget.
Right, I had no idea,
Yeah.
right? Again, conversation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, make it visible and be transparent. kind of what's coming to mind for me.
Maybe go back a little bit in time from you're finding an advocate, somebody who's profoundly affected by this, activating that person. But it begins with telling the story. Hey, there is a problem happening. It was interesting when we were coming up with our options, all of them started with somebody explaining, this is the problem that's happening. And so when the problem is outside the control of the team, I think you still need somebody from that team to tell the story of the problem that is happening.
Right.
I love it when you read my mind. That's amazing. So on our team, we have decoupled the person reporting on removing the impediment from the person solving the impediment. And usually, or fairly often, the person resolving the impediment is outside the team. But the person who's reporting has the responsibility to get back to the team with what the solution is. And I say, sometimes you have to be a little bit annoying. And you have permission from me, I'm the product owner for my team, you have permission from me to be annoying to me. Right? So if you think, I don't want to bug Dave, you're the reporter, I'm the problem solver on this one. So.
A lot of times we've experienced, what I've experienced is when we have an impediment outside teams, because you have an Agile team that's interfacing with a non-Agile environment, and that environment doesn't move at the same speed. And the only thing that I can do is escalate things to the people who have the power to make changes. But that's about all I can do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot in here in what you're saying about influence. Right? We can't make people do things. But I have 4 kids, trust me. I can't make them do anything. Right? But there's something about building relationships so that you know who to go to if it's something outside of your team's control, right? Your team's ability. Or in your case, it's like quantum physics, right? One team is moving at one speed and the other team is still, and yet we're all still here on a Friday, right? And so how do we have those conversations and with whom do we have them?
Human dynamics, use human dynamics to pursue people to convince the whole thing. Because there's definitely a clear solution to this kind of things except convincing people and making things very clear that this is what it is beyond control. And we were able to convince them, and even though it's a loss for government, it lost a lot of money, but they understood that's a good thing. And we are sailing smoothly now.
Yeah, and next time around,
Right.
we'll be better.
I've usually found that translating any issue in terms of dollars gets people's attention.
Well, and to your point about idle staff, right? Going and saying, this is how many dollars this idleness is costing us.
Right.
Yeah.
And that gets attention because the people higher up still have to make their budgets and all the other kind of things, so it gets their attention.
So for that also we could do like, you're supposed to have 2 experts for that product, who would be the admins of that product to support all the 200 users. So one of them is not hired yet, another one is on board already. So we delayed that second person. So that at least the project is not costing the price. And the first person...
That person's eating ramen noodles, but...
Are we solving the problems or delaying the problems?
The clearance is delayed or something.
Now we know what that really is.
The first person we got involved in, because the post-installation work, there was a data migration, which was another big task, of course. So we got our first resource getting involved, help the government for the cleanup of data, mapping the data and all that. So we could use him basically. So that's the workaround, so that he's not wasting time. So once that everything's set up and installed, we can immediately go for
Hit the ground running.
ground.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions? Sounds like this group is tired of learning and ready to go back home.
No, I've learned a lot from this session actually, especially for the beginning of listen to words. People say things between sentences, but I'm not quite catching all the time. I'm looking for are they delayed by something, right? I'm not thinking that. I'm only thinking about, I want to meet this by this due date, and that's it. That was very thoughtful. Thank you for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
So what else, so listening, what else are you walking away with?
If you have the brain power of the whole team focused on solving a problem or coming up with ways to resolve an impediment, it makes it incredibly easy as opposed to one person or two people having to figure it out.
Yeah, Lisa Atkins loved to say, take it to the team, that 5 or 7 heads are way better than one. Yeah, great point.
What else?
What you talked about designing an alliance with your team, talk a little bit about what they're, we did some conversations, but I wasn't as very specific in that scoping. So.
It's powerful. It really is. Yeah.
One thing you mentioned earlier, it wasn't a topic, but you said, is this impediment worth solving?
Yes.
Right, you don't have to solve the world by Thursday, right? Just make your neighborhood a better place by tomorrow,
Yeah.
kind of deal.
Yeah, Robert Baden-Powell, right? Leave the campsite better than found it.
Mhm.
Oh, they're over there.
Okay.
So we thank you very much for coming. William and I are working with a South African colleague named Antoinette Coetzee, and we are we're starting a virtual Scrum Master Academy. And this is really aimed at early career Scrum Masters, so they have their CSM, and they're looking to become great Scrum Masters. It's a journey, so it's over 6 months. It's a 26-week class. We're meeting virtually, live virtually, once a week. Eastern time, it's at noon on Thursdays. And so that's, just in case you're curious, 7 p.m. South Africa, 6 p.m. Europe, 5 p.m. England, noon here, 9 in California. The Australians are just going to have to figure it out. The Indians are going to have to figure it out, right? But we're really excited about the class. It starts in spring, March 21st, and we have some flyers if you're interested. We have 2 flyers because we're sneaky like that. One is back-to-back, double-sided. And the other is the first page and the second page in case you would like to put it up at work. You may have a very Scrum Master you love and would just love them to get to be a great Scrum Master. And so putting that up, we would appreciate that. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, you did a great job, and thank you for being guinea pigs. This is part of the course that we actually did over here this evening, and this is what it's all about. It's being interactive, how we did it, how we went about it, and then debriefing it. What did we learn from it? And so we learn from each other. Okay. Cool.
If I can ask a question, what collaboration tools are you using to train all these Scrum Masters virtually across different time zones?
So we're using Zoom. That's our main platform. We are using, for things like when you use sticky notes, there is a tool called BoardThing, which is a virtual sticky note thing. If I can call BoardThing a thing, it's a thing.
Just write another word by using the word.
Exactly. What else?
And probably like I think Google Drive or Dropbox, something like that, where we can share. So it's like literally, how do we create that in a virtual world? So everything you do with a team, we're trying to figure out pieces of how do we do it in a virtual world. And the other side is there may be things we haven't thought of, but I'm convinced that the people on the course with us will help us figure those things out, to be honest. But the 2 main tools at this point is literally Zoom, BoardThing, and Google Drive. Find documents and share with each other.
And it's fantastic because currently the people we have who have applied for the class, so people are applying and then we're interviewing to make sure that they are who they say they are and that they're a good fit. We have people in South Africa, we have someone from Brazil, we have some people here, actually here, not here in this room, but here. And that's what we've got right now.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Would you say it's for Scrum Masters that are serving software development teams or any kind of Agile team?
Any kind. So it is focused on Scrum. And one of the class participants is she using Scrum? I don't think they are. They're using Kanban, aren't they? She's working with leadership teams. Like there's no software development in what they're doing.
Yeah, so we're not going to be doing coding in the course. It's literally learn the framework that you're using. This one will be focused on Scrum. Future ones will probably have Kanban in at some point. Just mix it up because different people need different things. And then other things will be facilitation, coaching, mentoring, all those different things. And it's just literally growing those skills and capabilities for the people on the course.
I'm curious, have you considered theming it, so to speak? So like this one's focused on, well, non-software development teams.
We have big dreams.
If you do one that is focused on parenting, I kid you not, I would sign up so fast.
Me too.
I would love to talk about Agile in families and learn from your experiences, because you've got, I think, 10 years on me as far as parenting with Agile.
Duly noted, we'll put that under consideration, you never know.
Yeah, add it to my backlog. Backlog refinement. Yeah. Thank you, David. That's
And the flyers are, for those that are interested, I'm going to put them on the table here so you can grab some on your way out if you want to. This is your choice. Let me make sure I put the double-sided ones here, the single-sided ones here. And thank you all for coming. Yeah.
Thank you so much.